Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan here for another Inside the Birds. And Adam, if you didn't know any better, the month is May, but I know for a lot of Eagles fans, it kind of feels like March, right? Because March is when teams do most of their free agent signings and they give their fans juicy storylines. But the Eagles kind of sat out March, and May is here, and it's like a signing, a trade, another signing. So we'll get into all of that. We've got some scouting department movement to talk about, and we'll also get into just the idea that there's been a kind of an accord struck here between the coaches and the players to make sure that there will be participation this spring. It'll just be different than what it has been. So we'll get into all the changes in the OTA structures as well. But it's just kind of crazy. I mean, if you think back to maybe last year or 2 years ago, as far as juicy May storylines and having so much to talk about, not nearly as much as we've been given this week.
Oh gosh, we don't have 3 hours. We'll knock this out in less than an hour. But there's so many things that, and some of this will probably bleed over to our next show for Monday. But it's interesting that I'd heard a week ago they're going to be starting to sign some players, but I didn't know what type of player. I was like, oh, cornerback, right? Well, not quite the way we thought. But right. Punter, no, not a punter. Because people have been asking us about that. They'll add one by training camp, veteran to compete for the job.
Yeah. What's the punter's name again? I always butcher it.
Sipas.
Oh, so you're not much better than I am.
Yeah, right. It's Sipas. Yes, I'm right. Aaron Sipas.
Sipas, right.
Yeah, he's an Australian rules guy. He's older. He turns 29. But they'll have someone in there. There aren't a lot of good punters. There are like 3 punters out there in free agency that are left.
Right.
But look, yeah, they did all sorts of transactions this week. Pretty interesting. Some of the guys that came in. We'll get into that. We were explain on the show. We've got some great intel and stuff that nobody knows on these players. Stuff from Kerrigan I was not even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're gonna have some scoop on him.
Yep.
How about how we've heard how he's going to be used is different than I originally thought.
Yep.
He's the kind of guy that he's played more outside linebacker than I thought. Someone in pro scouting from another team who they would say that we did him for free agency, which is kind of a funny thing to say, but that's a scouting term. Yes, I scouted. I watched his tape.
Right.
And he went back several years, and he's got all the analytics on him. And this guy was reading me his report. I thought it was interesting. So I know how he's going to line up. We'll talk about that. And a couple of things happened, which were like, that's interesting. And people seem to have their opinions, and we'll tell you what's right and what's not right.
Yeah, a lot of news and nuggets we got to put out there. I wanted to start off with the show with kind of a nugget that was dropped by Jason Avant on Q&A, and I thought it was worth discussing because I didn't even know this. This is the best part. I produced the show. I watched him go do the show, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that. Jason was invited to the NovaCare over the past weekend to speak to the rookies. I don't know if he was the only one or one of a couple of different former Eagles, but he was there. So he had a chance to speak to the rookies, and he has a great story. So it would be it's a perfect guy to go talk to young kids. And also he had a chance to meet Devontae Smith. He said Devontae came up to him, talked to him, was very humble, but he also had a chance to talk with Nick Sirianni. And he admitted that, going into it, he, like a lot of people, didn't know what to think of the press conferences and the kind of the rah-rah attitude and how that would really go over in a locker room.
I heard him, Geoff. I heard him probably after rock, scissors, paper press conference. I heard that show.
Yeah.
And I cringed because I could hear it. Like, he's like, oh, I was like, man, I could tell that he needed to be convinced. So Go ahead. Just so you know, that's the detail what Geoff is alluding to.
Yeah.
Jason probably went in thinking one thing and got another.
Exactly. He spent 20 minutes talking to him and had a really good conversation that he said was kind of a vintage kind of Nick Sirianni conversation, animated about football. And he said, look, the one thing I can see now is that his enthusiasm that we see that sometimes we think is a little overboard or over explaining, it's genuine enthusiasm for the game, for the talking the X and O's. It's not fake. It's not, I'm putting on a rah-rah just to present myself as a certain type of human being. It's just who Nick Sirianni is. And so that made him feel feel better about at least knowing that Nick Sirianni is being genuine and being sincere. And what that means, as Jason would describe it, it still doesn't mean he's going to be a great coach. Doesn't mean he's going to be a terrible coach. It doesn't mean after a tough loss against Dallas that that approach is going to go over well. What it simply means is that you can at least be assured that what you're getting is real and authentic, because phonies don't play well in this city, in this town, as they shouldn't, right? So the good thing here in the context of their discussion was that he went in thinking, as you said, one way, not one way, just not sure, and then came away thinking, all right, the guys, that's just how the guy's wired, and that's pretty cool that he's authentic that way.
A coach, the coach with the Colts, when I got intel on Sirianni, called him an HBI, hot-blooded Italian.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny, and he goes, he's really in your face, and I remember when I met him.
I'm married to one, by the way.
Oh, is that right? Yes.
Not a football coach, a hot-blooded Italian.
When I met Nick in 18,
I
talked to him twice, 18 and 19. He's the same guy. He's kind of a close talker. He's got a high energy. He can't wait to tell you about what everyone we're talking about. Like, I'll say, hey, could you tell me who your influences in football were? You know, he talks about his father, his brother, this coach at Mount Union, and great. But he loves. And I remember trying to leave. He goes, hey, one more thing. I was like, okay, coach, go ahead. And he just goes through it. And I was like, okay, great. He's very authentic, as you just said. He has two big things: accountability and connecting. He wants his coaches to connect with his players. It's very important to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to hold the players accountable. This was a real issue for the previous staff. There was too much. The word that I got from a couple of people was there's too much self-preservation. They didn't coach as hard as they did. It's hard to quantify. Let's just say that the staff that was left over from 16, that's been with Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guys on that staff over the years that it just was either the message was not getting through or guys were not improving. Now, whatever you want to call, whatever you want to say, that's fine. But the fact of the matter is some players are not being developed. And I'll say this, and you and I talked about this on Sirianni and some of the other coaches who've coached receivers. If these guys can't improve, it's because the receivers can't play. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That also speaks to the second part of what Jason was talking about. And I tweeted that part out as a tease to the show, is that while he was there, it wasn't just meeting Nick Sirianni. He said he could kind of feel a new energy there, a sense of rebirth, new life, because he was poor guy. I mean, he does the coaching internship last year at training camp, right? Then he agrees to be the assistant wide receivers coach, thinking, hey, I want to give this coaching thing a shot. And he just happens to be the year that the Eagles are a complete mess from top to bottom and dysfunctional and feuds. And he even pointed out, he goes, last year, he said you could kind of cut the tension with a knife. You could feel it from the beginning of the season till the end. And he said, just
That's
being
really
there now, you
Wow.
can just feel the renewal and a new free flow is how he described it. And I get that, Adam. And I don't want to make too little, but I don't want to make too much. It's also the honeymoon phase. Everybody's
he's not coached the game yet.
Each other out.
Nick has not coached the game yet, and
Right.
we'll see. Early returns are good. And that is really, quite frankly, to be honest with you, that is the story, and we'll get into that in a second. We'll detail everything we've heard and what we know. The fact that he was the one who called the players,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of asking to change the schedule because they have to okay it. It's pretty bold thing to do. But I could tell you that you look at it this way: would you rather have a 3-day off-season program or 21 days and just not have the whatever the 20 whatever it is, 18 days, 15 days, whatever the heck it is?
Right. It's amazing. It's amazing because what you're getting at is something that appears we appear to have a trouble doing in the rest of our daily lives in society, is finding a compromise, right? I mean, two sides that are strongly convicted were willing to give on each side for the betterment of for the betterment of the team and overall. So I thought that is good. We will get into that in a second. I just want to wrap up the 4 other quick points from Q&A that I really encourage people to watch, because it was a very instructional Q&A, and that's what our audience response has been, that they love so much, that they learn about football.
Learning.
Quentin Michael talked about what a 4-3 under front and a 4-3 stunt front look like. So he tried to kind of give an idea of how schematically things will work with the Eagles personnel this year under Jonathan Gannon, with some assumptions since we haven't seen Gannon coach a game, but kind of what we've heard. The way and we'll talk about this also. Ryan Kerrigan's usage might not be as traditional as a DN. We'll talk about that. They also got Jason Avant did an excellent job about talking about Jalen Hurts' development and the idea of being a four read progressive quarterback, meaning there's read 1, 2, 3, 4 check down, and how he has seen Jalen really excel in 1 and 2, and then also using his athletic abilities, and how he thinks the world of Jalen Hurts and he can be a very good quarterback. He wants to see him be able to get to 3 and 4 and really complete the development. So we talked about that. And it was just a very good schematic. Wow. And he used examples of other quarterbacks who were really good and understood that even 1 and 2 are gone before you snap the ball. So you know to go to 3 or 4, and he explained why and how. Awesome. Quentin did a great job of breaking down. So he was asked, from a defensive standpoint, what cues you look for from the offense to know what they're going to do. And then Jason responded vice versa. So it's very instructional. And then the stories, Adam, that they told, Quentin was asked to talk about the T.O. Hugh Douglas fight, and it was a phenomenal story. And Jason Avant, he ended it with something I'd never heard before, a story about how former Panthers wide receiver Steve Smith wanted to beat him up.
Why?
At a Christian conference.
Oh my God, I haven't heard this yet. Oh, don't give it away.
I'm not giving away why. You have to watch it to find out why. Why would anybody want to beat up Jason?
Oh my God, because it's funny.
And at a Christian athlete conference.
That's oh my
hysterical.
God. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
The T.O. story, folks. I've heard it. Actually, I've had Hugh Douglas with me on the radio before, and he's told it.
Yes.
But to hear you put the clip up, to hear Q talk about it, he could barely get the words out. He's laughing so hard. It's so absurd to think that Terrell Owens thinks he's going to throw down, have a fight with Hugh Douglas in flip-flops. I mean, are you kidding me? You can't. And by the way, you're slipping because it was near the hot tub.
Or the cold tub. Right. Yeah.
Whatever. Over
there. But actually, it was Hugh who was in the flip-flops and was
right. Okay. Yeah. Right. But again, that whole story, it got out within that night. Let's say it happened at 2:00 in the day. It got out like 6:00 at night. The players were telling players, people were laughing. Reporters found out. Now this is 17 years ago.
Oh, is it that long? It's
2005.
Yeah. So
16.
Yeah.
I mean, old. It's just, I mean, that
feels like yesterday.
What was your first year covering the
2005? That was I wasn't the beat. I was kind of a GA, as they called it, general assignment at newspapers. But I did a lot of stories because I lived in Jersey. I'm working for the Wilmington News Journal in Delaware. So obviously, anytime T.O. did something on his lawn, I think my first ever story that was pertaining to the Eagles was the Drew Rosenhaus next question.
What are the chances? Oh, that's right. You've said that before.
Yeah.
Should we save my story with that till in June when we oh my God, it's so ridiculous that that whole day was a nightmare. What I had to go through we'll get it's another Caplan story. People will laugh at me. It's just typical of my career, the stupid blank that happens.
Sure, we got that and the other wrestling story that you got to tell. We'll save that for the summer.
And I want your stories of the media trailer. All your Lehigh stories, man. All your Lehigh stories.
Too many.
There are a lot of them.
All right. So as we tell you all the time, don't be a loser. Stop paying full price for things you want. Get on Deal Dash. It's dealdash.com, or you download the Deal Dash app. And when you register, enter the promo code ITB for those special offer. You'll get some bonus free bids. That's promo code ITB for a special offer for bonus free bids when you get started on Deal Dash. All right. So let's talk about this.
They have a great app.
They have a fantastic app. Let's talk about the minicamp. So you kind of, it's already went into a little bit of how it came to be. And what you said was that Nick Sirianni was the one who kind of threw out the olive branch first, right? And said, let's do something here.
Because so what happened, I noticed, on Twitter, I guess some of the reporters said that the players are coming in. I'm like, this is not right. There's some, I mean, it just doesn't. They put the statement out, in April that they were not. The Eagles players were not coming in. They were only going to show up to the mandatory camps. I'm like, what? There's just something odd about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, does this mean that they're not going to be at the mandatory camp? And the answer is yes, but there's more. That's what I assumed. It's correct, but Sirianni calls them. He's been quoted on this, but I'll just summarize what I know about it. It just backs up what he had said. He knew that the best thing, the compromises you talked about, it's really smart. He needs to get these guys on the field. They're not going to have 11 on 11 on 7 on 7s. That's the compromise, part of the compromise.
Right.
But just to get them on the field, in individual work, in teaching on the field, to take what they're getting either virtually or in a classroom environment, taking some stuff out in the field, and to be coached. They just the players have to get used to how they're going to be coached here. They don't know these guys. The players don't know the coaches. Coaches don't know the players.
Right. I mean, the Eagles
right?
would have been nothing. I'm sorry. One of the most, I think, hurt teams if they had decided to just completely forego any kind of mini camps and only show up for the mandatory mini camp with all of their first and second year players and all of this new coaching staff. It would have been I think it would have been hard for this team to play. I mean, everybody in the division has brought back the same coaching staff other than the Eagles. And this is like the reverse of last year.
No, Dallas has a new coordinator.
That's right. They have a new coordinator, but for the most part, everything else is
right. Their
same,
defense is changing, but that comes to my point here to add to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing is here, the offensive defensive schemes.
Right.
New philosophy on offense, completely different. The West Coast that this guy's running, Sirianni, is completely different than Peterson's. Mm-hmm. And the defense is basically, you couldn't get more of a 180 on a 43 defense. This is about as different from the wide 9 as you're going to get.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do pre and post. They may not have a lot of talent on defense, but I'm going to tell you what, this is what I believe is this Gannon guy, and people could just throw it back at me if I'm wrong, but this guy's going to prove that he can make the most with not a lot. That's based on what I've heard from other coaches who know him. This is a super smart, highly intelligent guy who's younger, 37, 38 years old, and has got his bleep together. And I'm very interested to see what happens. He's one of these guys who's probably going to be a head coach. They're probably going to lose at some point over the next 3 years. That's how well thought of he is around the league. And Jeffrey Lurie knew about him. I mean, it's not a secret. He knew about him.
Yep.
He was involved in those coaching discussions, and everyone involved in it knew about Gannon, and obviously Sirianni worked with him. So I think it's going to be a home run hire in terms of defense. Sirianni, everything I've heard so far is good, and I like what he did here. It's a very aggressive move. It's a smart move. This is his first big deal. Didn't even know anything about this until Monday morning. I was checking into it. I'm like, wow, he really did this?
Right.
Okay. Smart move.
So let me summarize the exchange here.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is the Eagles are not going to have a 3-day mandatory OTA. That was part of the agreement and negotiation for the Eagles to show up now and start phase 2. Phase 2 is going to start now. The team gave up the mandatory OTA. And so the phase 2 starts now, as you mentioned, meetings, on-field stuff geared toward fundamental scheme, strengths and conditionings. And then I think the next week and then the following after that, it'll be phase 3 OTA, which, as you mentioned, normally we'll have 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. You're not going to see that, but you will see coaches and players having more individual time with each other to work on things. And then after that, gone till the start of training camp.
Right. So you're doing routes on air. Like, for instance, let's say this is let's say you're a receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the way we run this. Like, I could tell you that Mike Rowe taught a certain way to catch the football. Aaron Moorhead, in the end, they want him to catch the football, but the technique might be different.
Mm-hmm.
So Moorhead's a receivers coach, but Sirianni and Patullo, his right-hand man, who are both former receivers, who have extensive work with receivers, will make sure things are taught a certain way. It might be different than they've been taught before.
Right.
You can only get this on the field, man. The 11-11 and 7-on-7 is cherry on the top. You just want you want your message to be told and drilled, and that's what you're hoping with these this on the field time.
Sure, absolutely. At the end of the day, I think, what you said is right in that this is better than the alternative. The alternative would have been, yeah, you get your 3-day OTA that's mandatory, but then pretty much nothing else. You would have had, I think you would have lost a lot more than you would have gained had they just stuck to the old schedule than what you're getting now. I mean, you're not getting 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s. Hurts a little bit, I do think, but nonetheless, you still get, you get the coaches and the players together. You get the you get questions asked. You get to go out on the field when phase 3 starts and really, like you said, work individually. I think that's better. I mean, I can't know for sure, but my gut from covering this league as long as you and I have is that if you gave me situation A and situation B, I'd probably choose this situation over the other one.
Oh, 100%. Oh, are you kidding? There's not even a debate.
And nobody should get hurt.
Right. Well, I want 50. I want I want 3 weeks instead of 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what the difference is.
Right. And it is good symbolism, I think. I don't want to make too much of it. As you mentioned that Nick reached out to the players. They responded. 2 sides came together. Common goal. We're both invested in our own side, but we can meet together and come together for a common goal. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah,
and something we don't see enough of. So I'm glad.
Shows leadership.
Yeah,
at an early stage
on both sides. On both sides.
Yes, both sides. And the thing that is so important, because if they would have not gotten any work at all, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to tell me these guys are not going to ever have practiced. They're just going to show up in mid-June for 3 days and cram everything in. It's just not natural. You've got new schemes.
Right.
Well, this is a tremendous compromise. Actually, I feel a lot better about them learning both schemes because there's such distinct differences on offense and defense from the former staff.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to seeing. Unfortunately, media is. From what I understand, we're not going to get any access until training camp. I'm hoping that changes, but I'm not.
Never mind. I like the old way better. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I hear you. I know. I'm dying. The media was able to go to the rookie camp unless something changes.
Right.
Doesn't sound like we're going to get access because I'm someone who would show up to every practice in the offseason that if I was home to do it, I would do it, but we don't have access to it. So I'm not going.
Yeah, I do. Mike Sealski wrote a good column. I've yet to see it, but I mean, read it. I saw the column and it's basically like, Dear Sports, please let us cover you again. And I do look forward to that day kind of being soon when we kind of go back to how we used to be able to cover the team. From an access standpoint, interviews and things. But I mean, I'm totally understanding of the protocols and everything. I'm just saying I look forward to the day when we don't have to worry about that. All right. I wanted to get into the transactions, Adam. There have been a bunch this week. Some more important than others, but all of them significant in their own way. Let's start with the first, like the major one, and that's bringing Ryan Kerrigan to the Eagles, a 1-year deal. Do you have the contract terms yet?
No, but I'm going to explain. Because they were actually delayed because he agreed in the afternoon and the contract became official on Wednesday.
Okay.
So I didn't get it yet, but I'll have it for Monday. I'm not worried about it. This show, when it's reported as 1 year up to $3.5 million, it's going to be 25 to 50% less in cash.
Right.
It's generally going to be a minimum of $500,000 in incentives to get it up to 3.5. Mm-hmm. So the bottom line is it's a very low end contract. Here's why. Once you get past the draft, it's a buyer's market. Before the draft, particularly in March, it's a seller's market. Once you've had your draft, you fill out your roster, you've got tremendous leverage with players. Now, why did Ryan Kerrigan not wait or sign with another team? Here's why. His role is going to be pretty solid. It's going to be a little bit bigger than I thought. As soon as I saw that the Eagles were going to sign him, I'm like, well, why would they want him as a fourth end?
Right.
Aha. He's not going to be
one.
He'll play it when they need him to, but
right.
Here's something I didn't know because I don't have access to this stuff. Well, I could, but it would take me hours to call all the information. Mm-hmm. He played well over 50% of his snaps in his career as a stand-up outside linebacker. I'd forgotten he's been playing linebacker on and off since 2012. Remember Brian Arakpo?
Yeah, I remember Brian Arakpo.
They were the two outside linebackers in the 34 when they ran it. I don't know. I'd have to go back in what years that they ran it.
I forget which defensive coordinator at the time had that.
But right. the guy, the pro personnel guy, read me all this stuff. I was like, man, I wish I wrote the stuff down. He was just detailing it for me.
Right.
This is what they do is in pro personnel, they have reports and they have to do them for free agency. Mm-hmm. And they knew that Washington was not going to bring him back. So they have, the Eagles and other teams have these personnel reports, and I think when it gets to the Eagles, they saw him as the ability to stand up, because he's been a stand-up outside linebacker. I remember Greg Cosell telling me one misnomer is that 34 outside linebackers in nickel, they play 43. Most teams do that. Pittsburgh did for years. That like he goes, the misnomer about Pittsburgh is there are 34 defense every down. He goes, that's not true.
Right.
Say they're basically more often than not at 43 in known pass rush situations.
Right.
Which is interesting. So anyway,
so go ahead. Yeah.
I suspect he's going to play. Well, I don't suspect. I've heard he's going to play a lot of linebacker.
Right.
So what does that mean? Well, we know that Jannard Avery, and as we first reported, Joe Osman's going to play linebacker, strong side. Well, look, Jannard Avery is in the wrong scheme. He's a 34 outside linebacker. It's what he should have done. Eagles are not running for the 50th time. They're not running a 34. That's not the scheme that they're running. I don't know why people keep asking about that, just because they have some guys who could do it. Avery is in the completely wrong scheme. He's played one game. He was incredible last year against the Niners. That's all he's really done here. It just didn't, it hasn't worked, but they're trying to get him on the field somehow in that stand-up role, because there is a role that the stand-up role that they have that they use in Minnesota. So Anthony Barr role, they'll have that. But let's face it. Anthony Barr is a long cover rush. He was actually a better rusher in college than he's been in the pros, because his responsibilities are different.
Right.
They're not asking Ryan Kerrigan to cover very much. That's not what they're going to ask him to do. They'll ask him to rush, to stand up, because think of it this way: if you're Ryan Kerrigan, are you really going to sign as a fourth defensive end? Well, you're not going to play. Those guys play 10, 12 snaps a game.
Right.
So he's not obviously going to play stand up outside linebacker. And then we'll see how much he'll play DN. I mean, could he do both? Yes. Will he do both? Some. But if by the end of the season, I would expect well over 50% as a linebacker, just because that's what he's done way more than I knew going into this.
What it would do is enable them to get Kerrigan on the field, even with two other pass rushers, two other DNs on the field, like a Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, Ryan Kerrigan, or Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett, Ryan Kerrigan, whatever combination you want to put it in. It does allow them to get Kerrigan on the field, and it does a couple of things because of who he is. And if you look at Anthony Barr plays kind of a similar role in the Vikings defense, right? Where he's a linebacker, but he's also a pass rusher at times, and comes
he can
down
cover.
On the
by
line.
the way, he can cover. That's the biggest surprise about Anthony Barr. As I know he's long. He's just not
Cooper Kupp, because he's been exposed by that guy in a few games.
But I'm talking about covering linebackers. He covers linebackers a lot. Anthony Barr.
Anthony Barr is a linebacker. You mean running covers?
Tight ends.
Tight ends, right. Absolutely, yeah. So Kerrigan is not going to cover linebackers. At most, he'll do, if he's dropping back, is dropping out into the flats, right, in certain zones. But they're going to obviously want him going forward. That's what he does best. But I like that idea that it's really just it's a different formation, but it's basically the same thing. The Eagles like to get as many pass rushers on the field, and if you can get him on one side of the line and have a protection slide that way, it opens up a one-on-one block for either Fletcher Cox or Brandon Graham or somebody else to be able to beat. So which is a good thing for the Eagles.
Now, I had this question. It's very fair, and I'll look. We're so early in this, folks. We just, he's only been, Kerrigan's only going to be on the rosters. There's so much more we're going to learn, and his role could be a little different than we've heard, but it's going to be similar at the very least, if not 100% correct. But we're gonna learn more. Now, someone asked this great question. Might have been on our board, on our Facebook board, but we're going to look into this because it's definitely something that we're thinking about. Will he push Barnett? Because he's been a right defensive end, Kerrigan, when he's played DN, as I understand it. Well, he's actually done both, because he's gone up against Lane Johnson, who's obviously a right tackle, which would make him a left defensive end. But I've heard he's played both.
Yes, he has. He beat up Big V. Remember that Big V's first start in 2017 and Kerrigan
Oh, that was awful.
right, and that was rushing over
Yeah.
left tackle from the right side of Washington's
Okay.
line. Yeah,
There
so
you
he's
go.
played both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't. It's a very good question about Barnett. I don't know yet. It's something we're going to look into. But just understand, I know people are saying, "Oh, could he be could he take Barnett's job?" Kerrigan is in this. Okay, we might as well get into this part of it because people want to know what happened with him in Washington. Well, couple things. If you look at the situation with Ron Rivera, who's got personnel control, he inherited Ryan Kerrigan at an older age. Kerrigan's now 32.
Right.
They were going to draft Chase Young. They did. That was their guy that they targeted, and they took him. And Montez Sweat was drafted before he got there. So what's Ron Rivera supposed to do? You have to play two young kids. And
yeah,
Ryan Kerrigan was their third end, and he had to go. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean that's hey, I mean, that's just business, and
Yeah,
you
what are you
know,
gonna do?
yeah, I don't think Washington got rid of him because he's a bad player. They were running out of snaps to give to the guy. They also have 2 first-round picks in the middle of their line with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. So they're going to have to pay a lot of people. So yeah, of course you're not going to devote more money to Ryan Kerrigan, and we see this all around the league. At some point, I'm sure Alshon Jeffrey will sign someone. You can get some pretty good, productive veterans who can play some limited roles, or hey, look, this Kerrigan signing has been likened to the Chris Long signing, and I think that's pretty fair. I remember the Chris Long signing, and I do wonder why Howie didn't go 2 years on Kerrigan. Maybe because is he 31 or 32?
32. He's
32. Does he turn 33 during the season? I wonder if maybe it's 2 years was just a little bit too much given their cap situation to want to pay him. But you know, with pass rushers who are good, you do like to have that extra year.
Turns 33. Yeah, he does turn 33 in August.
Okay.
But they could put no guaranteed money in year 2. But then if I'm Ryan Kerrigan, I don't know if I'd want to do that.
Yeah.
I'd rather prove it on a 1-year deal.
Right.
Look, this is a great signing. It's just he's a high character guy. So the scouting report that, in addition to what we know, we just put out there, high energy, athletic, just under 6'4", high motor. He's just a leader. He doesn't say a whole lot, but he does it by his play. And he's just been an exemplary player. I mean, he's what a first-round pick this kid has been.
Right.
Really.
By the way, to answer people who have said, well, why would you sign an old guy when you're turning over the roster, and kind of maybe compared it to either Jason Peters or something else? This is what Adam and I have been trying to say for a long time. The Eagles are not tanking. They have never tanked. They don't believe in tanking, and you don't need to tank even when you're a young team turning over your roster. And the most important thing is, if you're trying to learn about good players, be it a quarterback like Jalen Hurts or a wide receiver or anybody on your defense, you don't just throw a bunch of 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds out there and say, I want to learn. You have to give them an environment that they can succeed in. You need a mix of veterans. You want to be competitive. That's how you learn what kind of team you have, not when you're losing 50-0 every game and everybody's mad and pissed and pressing. So this is what we have said from the beginning. Somebody misquoted me on Twitter so badly this week that I was shocked. They literally put the quotation marks and said, Geoff Mosher said this, which was the Eagles are not looking to compete in 2020. We have never, ever.
Why did you say that?
Ever. Like every single podcast we've done is available on YouTube, on our podcast. You can go find it. If someone finds me saying that, I'll apologize and say I must have been drunk that day, because I never said the Eagles are not looking to compete. I may have said, I'm not sure how competitive they'll be, or I'm not sure how good they're going to be compared to the division. Certainly, I think I'm not alone in that opinion, but I've never said the Eagles are not trying to compete. That's contrary to everything they've ever done. So
Jeffrey Lurie would never. I know him a little bit. That'll never happen. Like, he did say transition was his words.
Right.
I think it's a very good phrase. I'm not going to start buying into the hype now. You know, you had a great title for our last show. It wasn't just it was the Sirianni's competition thing, but the Eagles better than we think. Whatever you wrote, man, you sparked so many comments on the YouTube.
Yeah.
People were fired up. They're sick and tired. I don't listen to talk radio or sports talk radio a lot. I listen to occasionally, and man, they are killing the radio stations in Philly. I don't know what they're saying. So
this is one thing that bothers me as I do kind of scan and see how fans interact with other fans. And there are some fans who are very frustrated by other fans or media who aren't sure that the Eagles are going to be good and may doubt how good the Eagles are going to be. And the other side will be like, these guys are haters and Negadelphians. I'm sorry.
Right.
You have to understand that if people are skeptical, if people doubt the Eagles, if people have their questions, that's completely fair. It doesn't mean on Sunday that they're rooting against the Eagles. That would be a little ridiculous, but it's perfectly fine and fair to say, you know what? I'm not sure that this team's going to be good, or I think that they're going to be third or fourth in the division. It's an opinion. Fans shouldn't have to devour other fans for having different opinions. You can devour another fan if he says, you know what, I'll never watch an Eagles game again. Come on, we know you're lying about that. If you're actively rooting and you're like, go Cowboys, go Giants. No, that's stupid. But I mean,
what you just said about the fans, okay, so when the fans were killing Howie Roseman, some fans said they were done with the Eagles until Roseman gets fired. We saw that stuff. We must have seen I don't know how many posts on that stuff. Okay, now they love Howie again because he had a great draft. It looks like a good draft. They're loving the Kerrigan signing. The fans can't make up their mind. But I understand.
And it works both ways, by the way. If you're a fan hating on another Eagles fan who thinks the Eagles are going to actually be a lot better, let them think that, okay? That's fine. They're entitled to their opinion on that.
Everyone's you can think whatever you want.
Like this.
We could tell you if we think you're out of your mind with something, as people will tell us sometimes we think we're out of our mind. Look, it's fair.
Yeah.
But everyone, Geoff just said it, everyone's entitled to have their opinion, but
and it doesn't make you a hater. It doesn't make you a hater, right?
Right.
You just have doubts. I mean, they just went 4-11 and have all this turnover, and nobody thought that they were going to go 4-11 last year. Everybody would have said, if someone said, I think the Eagles are like a 4-win team going into 2020, that person would have been crucified. Like, what are you talking about?
I think I'm at 10 wins. I mean, I don't know anyone who didn't think the Eagles weren't be good. Not going to be good
exactly.
Last year.
But they weren't. So it just goes to show you're not sure what's going to happen. So. All right, let's get into some of the other signings. But first, Adam, I want to remind everybody it's playoff time. We know who got that number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, right? Bigger stakes, bigger promotions. It's time to hammer the over and score some cash. So DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you a chance to lower the over-under on a featured playoff game. All players who place a bet on the featured basketball game will have a hand in lowering the over-under on the game. That's right. For every 1,500 players who bet the over on the select game, the over-under is going to drop by a point. So every bettor who hammers the over in the featured game helps to lower the game's over-under. And the best part of that is that as the line lowers, the odds remain at even money. That's right. You can double your money by hammering the over. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ITB when you sign up to hammer the over. For every 1,500 people that bet the over in the featured game, the line will decrease by 1 point. Yes, this is your chance to improve the odds of the over hitting. So tell your friends and family this is a team effort. Hammer the over and improve your odds of doubling your money. That's promo code ITB for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. Restrictions apply. Max $25 wager, one per customer. Offer ends May 23rd, 2021. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, that sounds like a fun little game.
That's an awesome. DraftKings they're so creative with their contests.
Agreed.
Very good.
All right, let's go to the next signing. We've got the signing of an offensive. This happened on Wednesday. The signing of swing offensive lineman LeRaven Clark to a 1-year deal. And man, Adam, this team makes no bones about the fact that it is going to always look to upgrade and address the offensive line. I mean, they do it in the draft, they do it in free agency, undrafted free agents, and LeRaven being the next one. Now, this one's interesting, right? Because he can play tackle. He's coming off an Achilles tear. So I have to wonder first and foremost when he'll be ready to play. Like we have to kind of do a 53 man at some point, and I have to wonder will he?
Well, no, we'll have an update on him on Monday. I'll I'll find out when they think it's going to be available. What's interesting about Achilles injuries, just checking into the rehabs of these things, they're no longer the death knell 9 to 12 months. When I first started covering the league in 2000, it was 9 to 12 months. Now it's 7 to 9 months.
Yeah. Brandon Brooks really smashed that too.
Oh yeah, right. But that's kind of still usually on the back end of 9 months.
Right.
But the point is this: he suffered the injury the first week of December, had the surgery within a week, so 9 months is September. So it's a little bit iffy. Now I understand, as I understand it, the thought process is if he's ready to roll, he could be their swing tackle. Like that's their thinking. That means backup right, backup left, guard, and potentially guard because he's played some. Now, here's the thing on this guy. He's not built like a guard. He's built like a tackle. He's super long. His arms are just under 37 inches. You know how long that your ideal left tackle is 34 and a half. If you can have that, you're loving it.
Hey, man.
This is crazy.
This guy can scratch his knees without bending down.
Right. He's former third round pick of the Colts. Now he's generally been a backup because he does not play to his length. His strength is explained to me by a scouting source. He doesn't play to his measurables, and that's why he's not been able to be a long-term starter. He's a pretty good backup. He's the kind of guy you love to have. If you could keep this guy for 4 or 5 years as your sixth lineman, you'd love to have it.
Yeah.
Just wish he wasn't coming off for torn Achilles.
Yeah. So I wonder when he'll be able to get back on the field. We'll figure that out, and how much of an evaluation of him they'll be able to get in before they have to make.
Well, they know Sirianni knows him obviously from the time.
Well, I know, but you want to be able to evaluate him coming off this injury, which you're right is not the death knell it used to be, but still. All right, when Brandon Brooks overcomes it, Brandon Brooks an all-pro.
Well, he's right guard. He's
this guy
he's the outlier. Yeah.
Right. But Raven Clark was an okay lineman to begin with, even before the injury. So you want to make sure you're at least still getting an okay lineman.
For sure.
But if he does make the team, I think it's obviously when you make a move like this, it opens up the door to wonder what's going to happen here with the Andre Dillard, Jordan Mailata dynamic. You know, you and I both say it's Mailata's job to lose. They should go into camp as the left tackle. Does Dillard? I've felt all along that they should keep Dillard anyway, just to have really good depth and then take that time to cross train. But if this guy Clark is going to make the team and Jack Driscoll can play tackle, I mean, you'd be silly to not, if you got a good offer for him, not to make a move.
Here's the way I see that. Here's the way I see it. First of all, Andre Dillard cannot play right tackle. They've tried it. Not a right tackle. He's a left.
Right.
What did they do 2 years ago? It was a disaster. What happened?
They had to start him at right tackle, and it was, as you said, it was a disaster. They had to pull him. They pulled him in the middle of the game.
Well, his attitude with it wasn't really good.
Yeah.
He's a left tackle. He's got left tackle feet. He's got elite feet, super athletic, but short arms, which is not good. Folks, the reason why I talk about arms, because it's a major scouting point. I've never talked to anyone in scouting that thinks it's good when your arms are short. It means the guy on the other side could get into you faster because your arms aren't long enough. That's one of the scouting points on short arms. Brian Balaga's been able to make up for it because with hand manipulation in terms of going like this, choppy and
right.
But he wasn't like that at first. He had to learn how to do it. How to win when you have short arms is not easy, especially when you're younger. You have to learn how to do that.
Right.
But so to answer or discuss what you're talking about. So here's the deal. Jack Driscoll is a right tackle who they could play guard at some point if he gets strong enough. So right now he's a right guard. He's a right tackle.
Right.
Herbig is a backup center guard. Matt Pryor, who I don't see him being on the team in September. He's got versatility, but he's pretty much played everything but center with him.
Right.
He's simply not good enough. We don't know about Dickerson yet because he's coming off ACL reconstruction. You just don't know about when he's going to be ready. Mailata can play both sides, but he's going to be starting a left tackle most likely. So they don't, if you want to trade Dillard, go ahead. But LaRaven Clark's coming back with serious injury.
Yeah,
don't know.
That's a fair point. I think it goes back to what I was saying. I'd hold on to him. I mean, I think it's a valuable commodity to hold on to, unless someone blows you away, right? Gives you a really high pick, which I don't see happening. But
I think at first, I mean, I'd have to do that immediately.
Right.
When I'm running it, I'm like, dude, we got to take this.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the great, though, competition now at offensive line, which last year was a disaster. And now you got your starting five. You got Lane, Brandon, Kelsey, left guard Sam Allo, and let's put Mailata just for argument purpose here
Yep.
at left tackle. That's 5 right there. Dickerson's definitely going to be 6. If LaRaven Clark makes it, he'd be 7. Jack Driscoll is no doubt going to be on.
Yep.
That's 8 already. Already you got 8, right? Assuming LaRaven Clark makes it. If LaRaven doesn't, then you still might have Andre Dillard there for 8. So, I mean, one of those two is going to be your 8, and then they usually only keep 8 or 9. Maybe they'll keep 10 this year. I don't know, because they've been injured in the past and they have old guys, but you've still got Soa Opeta, you've got Nate Herbig, you've got Matt Pryor we've talked about. So, I mean, you've got a bunch of guys who are, they just signed Casey Tucker. We'll get to him in a minute. Brett Toth had to play last year.
Oh my, that's so funny.
But I mean, that's a lot of guys to compete,
You had the all-time line. It made me laugh like hysterically. You said, "Do you know what I'm talking about?" You go,
"Oh yeah."
We were previewing the game, and you said he goes, you said something like, "If we hear Brett Toth's name, that's a bad thing."
Yeah, I said I think if we hear Brett Toth's name, it's a real disaster for the team. And
right, because that means he's playing, and they can't have this guy playing.
Sure enough, we heard him.
He was it.
We heard his name.
Was he the last man standing?
At that point, yes, he was. Because remember, I think Soa Opeta of all people had gotten hurt and had to come out. Right, so they really had to do. I mean, Soa Opeta shouldn't be playing in a game anyway, and he got
exactly.
Hurt
that's how bad it became for them. And then they signed that. Did that Ross Piersbacher ever play? I know he's signed off Washington's practice squad. I don't remember if he played, but
I don't think he played. I don't think he's on the team now, is he?
I think he's still. I think I'd have to look, but did Luke Juriga ever play?
I don't think Luke Juriga ever played. Okay. He's also on the team and someone that they've highly regarded as a potential center. Right, Luke Juriga, and then they hired. Hired. I mean, Piersbacher's on the team. He's actually listed as a center.
Okay,
they have like 5 centers. I mean, they have Harry Kreider, who was a rookie free agent, Juriga, Kelsey, Piersbacher, and of course we know Sayamalo could play center.
Well, Dickerson,
Dickerson, right? Dickerson,
yeah, sure.
So the one thing you could say about the offensive line, and I give the Eagles a ton of credit. And for people who think that we're overly critical sometimes, I don't think we are, but I have always, and so have you, given them credit. They are constantly adding to their offensive line. Sometimes people think to a fault. I don't think it's to a fault. I think if they do a great job of whether it's draft, free agency, rookie free agent trade, whatever it is, they're always bringing in offensive linemen. I think that's a great philosophy.
It's what Joe Banner told me when he and I worked at ESPN together. He said, it's a proven fact. If you build with the lines, offensive, defensive lines, you're going to be. Even if your quarterback's average, if your D line could get pressure, constant pressure, if your line protects well, pass protects well, runs and blocks for the run game, you're going to be good. You're probably going to be at least 500.
Right
now, if your quarterback sucks, if your quarterback plays so bad like Wentz last season, and he can't get back to where he once was. That's a different story. Then you can't get out of your own way because you can't. Now, and also their line was hurt. That was part of it. But
right.
So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely. I'm glad you put it in that context because it's why more often than not they're a very competitive team because they get how you win. You win on the lines. Joe Douglas told me that when I first met him. Roseman believes that. Banner did. Andy Reid does. I'm sure Sirianni believes that. How could you not? Look where he came from.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, look what they've done there in Indianapolis. I mean,
with Chris Ballard. Yeah. So yeah, no doubt.
All right, cool. Let's move to the secondary. They acquired cornerback Josiah Scott from the Jags in exchange for cornerback Jamison Houston and a 2023 6th-round pick.
That's theirs, by the way. That is their 6th-round pick. It's not like another team's pick. Just to clarify that.
Gotcha. All right. So what do you know about how this deal came about? Because it kind of definitely came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no. Okay, so let me explain something. I've said this before, and I really want to make this clear because this is what teams do now. This is a really smart move. So what you do is when you know they're the kind of player that you want is you haven't signed him yet, like Steven Nelson, someone like that. You know, the general manager Roseman talked about how we could just trade for a guy like Ronald Darby. Remember, we did that. It was actually August of 13. Or in August of 17. Well, you can't depend on that. That's just not. That's pie in the sky. That's luck almost.
Right.
What you do is, and this is the way you explain to me, is you start looking at every NFL roster of guys you had 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round grades on, and these guys are buried on depth charts. Well, Josiah Scott had some issues.
Mm-hmm.
He's smaller. Trent Baalke, the general manager of the Jaguars. I know he doesn't have personnel control, but Urban Meyer leans heavily on him. Baalke likes long corners. Well, Scott does not fit that profile. Does not fit that size profile. He's 5'9" and a quarter. He's got less than 30-inch arms, which is very small. He's got an average build. He's not thin, but he's just got an average build. Now, what we're told is they're going to start him out at outside corner, not inside corner. He's played both. He played both at Michigan State. He's a high character, high IQ, competitive kid. 4'4", 240, which is fine for a corner, but he's smaller. That's why he was not a pick in the first 3 rounds. And they worked on Monday. They pretty much had it done, finalized it on Tuesday. We just told you kind of what kind of corner he is. Now, the question would be now with the Eagles, because everybody talks about slot with him. He can play it because he's done it. He's played both in college. They don't need any more slots. But the question is, if he's going to play on the outside, at least start him on the outside and see what role he could win. What role would that be in terms of outside corner? He can't be competing for a starting job opposite Slay. So is it the 4th corner, the 5th corner? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say he's going to compete for that job. Now, whether or not he can
realistically
perform well enough is the question. I don't want to see. I think some people say, and this is fair, right? Because ironically, if you go to NFL.com and see our buddy Lance Zierlein's write-up on Zierlein, his write-up on Josiah Scott coming out of Michigan State was that his prospect comparison was Avonte Maddox, right? So everybody's saying it's just another Avonte Maddox, but I mean, you got to at least some. There are 5'9" outside corners in this league. They just have to be given the chance to show that either they can or can't do
Jason
it.
Verrett,
Jason Verrett's a good example. Yeah,
he's a smaller framed former 1st-round pick who's revived his career. You know, it's been a great story of perseverance. I'm glad that he's doing well.
Right.
But yeah, Santi Samuels, was he 5'10"?
He was 5'10". Yeah. So
but he was also thin frame, wasn't big guy.
Right. I don't want to rule it out, but I agree with you. It's not likely, but I still say this, like as we joked so often about the names of Eagles cornerbacks after Slay and Maddox, right? I mean, it's comical. So at least you have a guy who's a 4th-round pick who you think has good athleticism, good speed. You know, one of my sources told me that who saw his tape was impressed with how he was able to run in the Big Ten with Hamler from Penn State, who is a very, a speed receiver with the Broncos, and Olave, who's with Ohio State right now.
Oh, Chris Olave.
Chris Olave might be one of the best wide receivers in the country.
Yep.
So now again, I'll be the first to say this. When we were talking about Avonte Maddox coming out of Pitt, back when Billy Osborne was with us and he was a Pitt broadcaster, we were told that Maddox ran really well and was physical and should get a shot to compete outside because he can do it. He got the shot and he could not do it. And maybe that'll be the same for Josiah Scott. But at the end of the day, if you're the Eagles, right, Adam, at the end of the day, you're still taking Scott, even if he's more of an interior cover guy than Shaquille Taylor or who are the names that we go through every day? Lavert Hill, or you know what I'm saying? Like, you've upgraded your talent and depth at the position.
Well, that's actually where I'm going here. So you teed me up very well. To me, if the realistic way to look at it is he upgrades their 4th cornerback position, their 4th outside. Though if it goes, what they're going to do is they'll sign a vet. Let's move this forward here.
Okay.
By training camp, they should have another outside corner, a veteran. It could be Steven Nelson. It could be after post June 1 when the Deshaun Jackson and Jeffrey money splits go. They're able to split because they're carrying the full cap number now. They could split over 2 years. Well, they're going to free up a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be when they could sign Steven Nelson for some veteran corner. That's probably the time to do it. So realistically, this kid's going to upgrade their 4th cornerback job because if it goes like I think it's going to go, Max your week 1, regular season, it'll be Maddox as a slot, Slay and the other veteran corner, whoever they bring in, whether it's a signing or a trade, whatever it winds up being. And then maybe McPherson competes for that job. Right now, it's probably they're thinking he'll definitely be competing for the starting outside job. I'm sure that's definitely going to happen.
Right.
But if they sign Steven Nelson, it's less likely to happen.
Right.
So then you've got this kid, to me, will be that guy he actually could wind up competing if Nelson's the veteran they sign. McPherson competes for that fourth or third outside corner job. So then you put it down wrong. Maybe Scott is their fourth corner, McPherson's their third outside corner,
right?
And Scott is an upgrade over Jaquette.
Craig James or
right.
Anybody else, right?
Right. Graylin Arnold, who knows if he'll even be in training
to
camp,
me, it's like the offensive line approach. I mean,
right.
You might as well, you may not know where the guy's going to play, but you might as well have the most talented player you can have. And you've seen, just like with the O-line, the secondary, the cornerback position was probably as beat up last year for the Eagles as the O-line was. That's why we were talking about guys named Kevon Seymour and Michael Jaquette and Jamison Houston. I mean, Jamison Houston, they signed in November and he had to play him. The guy was with nobody since training camp and he was a rookie free agent, and they're throwing him into a game. So the bottom line is, if it's a position that is hard to keep healthy, got some older guys like Slay, you got an uncertainty. Maddox has struggled with injuries too. You might as well get the most talent you can have and then figure.
Plus, this is his walk year. This is his final year of his deal.
Right.
We've been around so long. I remember we were trying to guess who was going to play safety that week after McLeod.
Yeah, Rodney got hurt. He tore his ACL that year.
Right. Wait, is this his second ACL?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember we were both wrong. It was
no, wait, I'm sorry. Was McLeod a shoulder that year now? No, I can't remember.
Whatever it was, yeah. I don't remember either. But whatever it was, he went on IR in September that year, and they played Tennessee. That was when Alshon returned. And they played Maddox at safety. You're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. They kept it quiet. And look, the good thing about Max is he's shown he could play other positions, but they need to keep him at slot and stop him with playing outside. He can't do it. It's just he got lost he just got lost out there. And
still not sure that his best position isn't. I think the best position he's played at the NFL was when he had to play safety for McLeod.
Oh, maybe so. I'd have to ask. It's a fair point. I just have to ask.
But I don't know if he's a cover 2 type safety who has to come in and make a lot of tackles. He seemed to be a good roaming safety in a one, right? In a one deep.
And single high. Yeah,
single high.
Yeah,
right?
well, they would have to go back and look, but they've done that before. But anyway, moving this forward, all these moves help with depth and competition, which is big for Nick Sirianni. And then Kerrigan, if it goes like we think it's going to go, he's going to play plenty of linebacker. He'll play some DN, and they're just going to figure out a way to make him, get him on the field. And look, he could have waited, but the way I understand it is his expectation is he's going to have a pretty good role here, and we'll see if he could be an impact guy, because they just don't have a lot of depth on defense. They lack depth, man. They just it's
absolutely.
That's part of the reason why I see them being somewhere around a 7-win team. They're starting 22. It might be okay. It might be better than 500. But the problem is when these guys can't play every snap, it's what happens. It's kind of like in the NBA. Your starting 5 might be great, but if you're not 8 deep, if there's a big drop off, it's going to be a problem, because these guys can't play 48 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair. They're getting deeper though. You have to be said the areas that we said that they were really deficient: offensive line, pass rush, corner. They're starting to address and get.
They're addressing it. And not only for now, they're doing it for the future with Dickerson, with Milton Williams. We'll see how they line him up.
Right. With
Devontae Smith, who's a now and future player.
Yep.
Tui Pelotu, where they're very weak in depth at D tackle. Awful depth. They have no depth.
Right.
This kid might play more than we know. McPherson's for now and for the future. This has been a really good offseason for them. As mumuch criticism as we levied against this team, and they deserved it, particularly the front office.
Right.
I think the general manager got the message that he looked how bad. You don't need to worry about what the fans think. The fans think what they think, and they're very entitled to think what they think, because they're pissed off, and rightfully so last season.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. And by the way, that just goes to show you also that two things can be true at the same time. We always say this, for people who are like, hey, Howie's had this great offseason, why doesn't everybody back off? Well, he had a lousy 18 months before that. So, by the way, so both things can be true. He had a lousy stretch, and he's coming back with a better stretch. And who knows what the next 18 months after that.
You know why he knows? Because they were 4-11-1, folks.
Yeah,
he lived it. They were terrible.
And then obviously he's been very upfront about the draft problems that they've had the last 2 years. He knows that he and other people there have been lousy in what they've done. And none of them wanted to be in the situation they were in just a few months ago, but now they're trying to make the best out of it like a franchise would and should do.
But what I would say as we close this part off is I'm hoping that he has learned that it's about your scouting grades, stick by the board,
your process.
Okay.
Yep.
Stick with the process. Don't let it be subverted by the owner, which it has been. It's true, folks. I mean, we've said this now for 4 years. The Eagles can't shut us down with this stuff anymore because any beat reporter who covers the team has either written about it, said it. It's just that these are facts, and I'm glad that the process was pretty good. From what you and I have heard, you and I have discussed this privately. We haven't actually talked about this before. We talked about after the draft that, hey, it seems like they stuck by their board, but for what we understand, it's actually good. The process was stuck to, and I'm glad that they're doing it the right way because they could turn this thing around rather quickly if they continue to draft well. But again, these guys haven't played yet, so let's not go. Right.
Right now, the only thing we can judge is approach and process, and it seems to be good. And I echo that sentiment that you have, and that's what I say a lot when people ask me about it. Is I say it's good now. It's really nice. It would be nice to see if we're saying the same things in a year or 18 months and 2 years from now. Okay.
Yep.
That's the what has to stand the test of time here that hasn't in the past. So, all right, let's move on to some of the other signings real quick. I want to tell everybody, make sure you're checking out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all of our professional Philadelphia sports teams. Wonderful content, good podcasts as well. You can find them on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation or their website, PHLSportsNation.com. And we'll pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you head into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal.
And follow them on Instagram. Their account is on fire.
A lot of nice cars on that.
My goodness. And
if you're just a car, you like to look at those cars. That's a good IG account.
I look at their thing every day. It's just, they have a great showroom, man. It's clean. Their service is great. And highly recommend right off 202 in Westchester.
There you go. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on some of these guys. They're just kind of camp bodies competing, but the Eagles did bring back Casey Tucker. They signed him as a offensive tackle, as a rookie free agent in 2019. He didn't make the team. Did he make the Eagles practice squad?
No, he actually, no, he went to Detroit's practice squad. Actually.
Right.
You won't believe this.
Thing is weird.
You won't believe this, but his name came up with one of my Lions guys. So I see Philly brought him in, huh? Boy, they really must be desperate.
Well, I mean, Jesus.
I said no.
They need camp bodies. I mean, come on.
The guy was laughing. He was just laughing. He goes, he's a nice kid. He's he's a fifth tackle.
Right.
But the funny thing is he was with the Colts for like a month and they cut him in January. He was with the Colts.
Right.
January, they cut him after the draft. So he's back with the Eagles and we'll see. We'll see what, there's
this like weird, like Colts, Eagles, Lions thing going on.
Yeah,
Fulgham came from the Lions. Huntley came from the Lions. Kerryon Johnson came from the Lions. And then the Colts signed Casey Tucker. They've got Press Taylor there. I mean, they got Carson.
Corey Unlin.
Unlin. That's right. Yeah. It's just, and Staley is on with the Lions. It's just,
what is going on?
Strange. I don't know. It's a little weird.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But he is. I would say, Adam. He
will not be on the 53.
Hoping to make the team.
Yeah. He's not going to be on 53.
Right. Also brought in. We mentioned the last podcast real quick, but just want to reiterate. They signed this hybrid defensive back, Nate Meters, who has ties to both Indianapolis and Minnesota. Not the Lions, though. And he's another guy, a body that Gannon is familiar with, and will be given. I suppose when you're in this secondary, Adam, and you can play safety, you might have more of a shot than just being a camp body.
I do wonder. I'd mentioned this before, and I'm going to check into this because I'm very curious. We know we were told in February, and everything we've heard so far has been true. In terms of what kind of defense they're going to run, Gannon's going to run his version of Zimmer's defense. But I do really wonder because of the Indianapolis ties. Meters from Minnesota, but Shaquille Taylor, from the Colts. So Gannon coached him, right? Hassan Ridgway was with Gannon for 1 year in Indy in 2018. That was
Mhm.
Gannon's first year there.
Mhm.
So I do wonder, is there going to be some of the Colts cover two? Eberflus, I wonder if he's going to bring some of that in, because the way D coordinators tell me over the years, they rarely will run 100% of the scheme that they came from. They'll run most of it, but
Right.
they'll bring in some nuances. I just wonder if they'll bring in anything from the Colts at all. We'll see.
Right. Now, Eberflus's defense is less, I would say, exotic, right? I mean, they both play a lot of cover two,
Yeah.
but Eberflus is almost like pure cover two. I don't think he deviates from that a whole lot, whereas Zimmer give you cover two, give you cover one, give you cover four
Yeah.
quarters. I mean, it'll look like cover one, then turn into a cover
Well,
two.
three. Cosell says they play a lot of three.
A lot of cover three, right? Yeah. I mean, he kind of they mix it up. Where I feel like Eberflus is more of like a Tampa two, like the old Buccaneers.
He is. Well, he's strictly from talking to the coaches, the Colts coaches, strictly cover two.
Right.
So look, it's really crazy. That's the seventh player now on defense that have ties from the Colts to the Vikings.
Right.
So Epps, Anthony Harris, Wilson, Meters, Craig James, Vikings, right. Ridgeway, and Shaquille Taylor from the Colts. So
you don't want to count Casey Tucker since he was with the Colts for about 5 months.
Yeah, right. Well, but I'm talking defense though.
No, I know.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Right. I know.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. It's a lot of familiarity there, which is not strange. A lot of coaches do that. I remember we talked about when Schwartz got here, they figured out a way to get Ronald Darby. They figured out a way to get Ron Brooks. They figured out a way to get Nigel Bradham. I mean, coaches want to get guys.
Who's that corner? Who's that corner from the Bills?
Leonis McKelvin too.
That's it. Thank you.
I forgot about that.
You got it. He was always hurt. Always hurt.
Always hurt. Exactly. All right. So then, hopefully familiarity does not breed contempt in this situation.
We'll see.
Let's move on to the scouting department moves. I know everybody gets excited about that, but there are actually some interesting moves being made. So let us first go with who's coming in, Adam. The guy's name is Josiah Scott from Washington. Why don't you give a little insight into how this came about?
Yes. So they moved Matt Holland, who was their senior pro scout, to the Northeast College Scouting position. And Josiah Scott, who was Washington's assistant director of pro scouting and / advanced coordinator of pro scouting, he's taken over Matt Holland's role. And then Phil Bye was the Northeast scout.
Yeah, it's my understanding he's going to go down to the Southeast.
Okay.
Which is hey, listen, let's be real. When you're scouting Northeast college football, it's not always great. And some teams, I think, they might lump Pitt in with the Midwest, but I don't, some teams do it differently, but Northeast is not exactly, you're talking about Rutgers, Boston College, Maryland, of course, Penn State is good, but after that, it doesn't, it's not exactly ritzy. But then now to be able to go to the Southeast, that's prime time territory there, right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely true. Midwest, Michigan, and all those schools, and Southeast. Yes, definitely big areas for them. So, nothing earth shattering here. The Eagles typically, they're a pretty tight knit group of scouts. They're very close. The pro and college scouting staffs are very close. They all get along. They've been together for a long time. That's another thing. A lot of these guys, for the most part, have been together for very many years. And people, I've never met Matt Holland. I wouldn't know him out of a lineup, but I've heard great things about him. I heard he's a great guy.
Same here.
Really good at his job. And they want to make sure they kept him. And this is what they did. This is, as I hear it, they thought this was a good way to use him as a Northeast college scout. And the Josiah Scott guy.
I'm telling you, he's a vintage Eagles hire, Adam, Josiah Scott, because he's not just the guy who has scouting experience, but he actually has salary cap analytic experience too. So if that doesn't scream Eagles, right? He went to Georgetown and got his master's in I want to say finance. I forget what he got his master's in, but if you have a master's from Georgetown, that's pretty good.
Yep.
So, and then when he started off with Washington many years ago, it was as a salary cap intern. Then he went into scouting, and then by the end of his Washington tenure, he was in a dual role of pro scouting and salary cap analysis. So that's pretty good there.
By the way, Sean McDermott started in the salary cap department with the Eagles.
Did he? Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So pretty
There you
interesting stuff there. You know, obviously you bring in a guy who kind of fits with what you do. So the chances are we may never mention Jeff Scott's name again, but he's
Well, no, actually, yeah, you're right. Not only that, we probably hope we don't, because generally when the guys that no one knows about, we mention them, it's not usually positive.
That's true.
So let's hope
fair.
Jeff Scott has a great career with the Eagles, and
we never have to talk about him.
Yeah, I'm half joking, but this is our fourth season, and when we mention people who are not over the years, when we mentioned who was Alec Halaby, right? Who was written by The Athletic. It was the first time anyone did an in-depth piece on him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was the issues with the front office, and he was mentioned a lot in that article.
Right.
Very good article if you haven't read it. And it's the first time I've ever seen anyone write about him. And he's an analytics guy. And when you write about people who are not known about around, fans don't know them, it's not usually positive. So let's hope he has a great career.
And by the way, real quick, as we talked about Matt Howland, there is some incorrect information that we've seen on the internet about his title. Okay. So like we were saying, he's going to be the Northeast area.
Oh, what? Is there something? What was out there?
There's it's not a LinkedIn. There's a website that is kind of like lists like what you do, but it's more private than LinkedIn, right? So I forget, it's like called Zoom Review or now I'm being tested here. I just remember Googling it and seeing that
came up with a different job.
Zoominfo.com, and it has him as like the assistant director of pro personnel. And I'm like,
if it has him as assistant director, the assistant traveling secretary, we got a problem.
Yeah, that would be an issue.
Costanza, yeah, that would be a problem.
All right. What do you got? When's your next Twitch? It's gonna be Monday?
Oh yeah. So yeah. Tonight,
Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday night. Yeah. Monday through Thursday. Once we get probably third week, the Eagles are gonna open. The Eagles are new staff, so they get to start training camp a week earlier. Mm-hmm. So anyway, when it gets busy, like when more people show up, when we get like 75 to 100 people, fans from all around the league, I'm going to do probably 2 hours. I love doing chats because the best part about it is when fans ask me stuff that are like, I got to research, which I should have known. Mm-hmm. But damn, I need to find that out. It's a great question. If sometimes I've taken stuff off our message board, I'm like, damn, we're doing a segment on that, man. This is a great question.
I'm going to infiltrate one of these Twitches under a pseudonym, but you're going to know, but I'm going to ask a question.
Richard Hertz.
So that you know it's me. No, I'll be a total pseudonym, but I'll ask a question like, Adam, tell me your favorite Rashard Barksdale story. Or, what do you think of Eldra Buckley's chances of making the team?
Right. So Reuben Frank and I, this is so funny. Reuben Frank and I this has got to be 6 or 7 years ago. Because, training camp practices are so boring. And you're just dying to get out of there or just talk about something because you're half asleep watching these practices. So we were just talking, like, who's your favorite scrub Eagle? I've always used the Walter Mendenhall name. I love that one.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh that it's Rashad Mendenhall's brother, because I remember he came in, typically running backs wore elbow pads, arm protectors, knee pads. I've never seen a running back wear no protect, like he wore nothing other than the stuff he had to wear. And I was like, why isn't he wearing I didn't understand it. And he was so stiff. It was slow. I was like, is this Rashard Mendenhall's brother? I don't think so.
Oh, man.
But I remember stupid stuff like that. I don't know why.
Rube and I, poor Rube, he's going to get, lumped into some stories here that he probably didn't ask for. But, obviously we work together. We're friends. He's like an older brother to me. Yeah. And one day, we're so bored in mini camps or something that we start making up really bad, like Chris Bermanism type nicknames for real fringe roster Eagles players. And we came up with like Victor Macho Man Harris, and there was CJ Gaddis Knight in the Pips was his, and mine was Rashard Last Train to Barksdale.
Let's say to Barksdale. Can I say a question?
Yes.
What was the fascination with CJ Gaddis? Why did was he the guy who went to Wake Forest?
I thought it was Clemson. I don't even remember at this point. It wasn't a fascination more than it was like, let's just talk about fringe, defensive backs.
Like there's certain things that have happened. We mentioned one of the last couple shows, George Hegeman's story, when he was quoted saying, Eagles need to come correct on my contract. I'll never forget it. It was Andy's first year, and you've told the story about Andy made him push a blocking sled, and then he cut him.
Yeah,
like,
and then he cut him.
It's so mean. It's just so not right. But Andy was trying to send a message, and
yeah.
But I just remember the craziness. And the dude, I think the guy went to Delaware State. This tall receiver is like probably 6'7". He talks so much junk. No.
Okay.
Him, I remember. He was actually decent.
Yeah.
But no, there's some guy, undrafted free agent with the Eagles, and he might have had one good day of practice, and he talks so much junk at how well he did and how he dominated.
I'm trying to think.
Dude, why would you say anything?
Yeah. It wasn't Shahir McBride, was it?
I don't remember.
He was a tall receiver out of Delaware.
Might have been him, but I just remember the guy talking smack about how great he did, and he was gone after like 2 weeks. I'm like, you never say anything.
Yeah, you can't.
What are you doing?
Yeah. You remember Kyle? Don't call me LeVar Arrington.
The corner.
Kyle Arrington, the quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? He played for. In fact, the Eagles screwed that one up. He became a player with the Patriots.
He did. He did. Go figure. Yeah, no, we would sit there and just pick players and come up with bad Chris Berman names for them all.
Well, I just love the names. Michael Gasperson is my favorite. Might be my favorite. Like, I never heard of a name like that before. It's like listening. Just made me laugh.
Definitely.
But anyway, we digress.
The next Powder Blue podcast with myself, Frank Close, and Susie Hunter will be out Friday morning. So we have a lot to talk. I mean, the most Jekyll and Hyde team ever. I mean, they go through this awful stretch, then they get in fights in the clubhouse, and then all of a sudden they give you the greatest win, and they love each other, and then they go flat the next night. I mean, they are the most psychotic team that's over 500 that you'll ever see in your life. I mean, it's amazing that they're over 500.
2 questions. Is this your favorite player ever? Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Aziz Shitu.
Now he's more recent. Like me and Rube, when me and Rube were talking about guys in like 2007, 8, 9.
Right. No, but here's my question: what happened to Scott Kingery?
Man. Well, look, I think it's almost at this point giving Kingery a free pass to talk about how this organization completely mismanaged his career and threw him at every different spot and asked him to do things and with no consistency. And then he did get COVID last year, but then now you're giving him also a free pass. I mean, at some point you're a grown man and you got to figure some things out. And he's been chasing balls out of the strike zone for way too long. Do I think that if he had been with a more stable organization and had gotten one position and a little bit more, consistency, it probably would have pointed him in a better direction to be successful? Yeah, I do. The Phillies certainly didn't do him any favors, but at some point, you got to be able to hit the ball, right? And you got to be able to play your position. And he just has not been able to regroup. I wouldn't be shocked if a change of scenery did him good, but because the damage has been done, I guess, by the organization. But he's got to take some of the brunt of it too.
Yeah, I was such a fan of his. Like
I was too.
He was so good. What a story! Great energy. Nice. Seems like a nice kid, and he's so bad. It's like
he had a nice swing at him, and you got to wonder if the Caplan regime of launch angle turned him from a guy who was a doubles hitter.
John Maley.
Yeah, did they turn him from a guy who was a doubles hitter with power to trying to be a guy with power all the time, like everybody in baseball who's not going to strike out? That's not his game.
Hoskins isn't quite all the way back from that regime. I mean, he's close.
I mean,
still good.
Yeah. I think he's always going to be streaky, but he's not like how bad he was.
No, but remember, he was all about that because analytics tells you in baseball, watch the pitch, then swing. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's Phillies are. I couldn't. I'm a Phillies fan. I am appalled. I'm just so frustrated with them, and they haven't hit for years. They don't hit.
It's rough. They strike out a lot.
Yeah.
And every single player that they have, other than maybe 2 or 3, were taken from another team. Like, you've got to develop even the best team. I know the Yankees pay a lot of money, but they develop guys like Aaron Judge, right? And I'm sure they pay for Stanton and Cole, but they develop Judge, they develop Gleyber Torres, they develop Miguel Andujar, they develop Luke Voigt. Like, you got to develop talent and then surround it, almost like we talk about with the NFL. With high price, you can't just keep buying guys. Now you're up. The Phillies are pretty close to the luxury tax. They can't bring on a huge contract, and yet they don't have much to show for it other than a couple of games over 500. And their only homegrown talent is Aaron Nola and Alec Boehm, and and Rhys Hoskins. That's about it. You know.
Before we get out of here, is there anyone in the minor leagues that might be coming up soon? Or
well, I wouldn't have told you Nick Maytone was going to be a guy.
I never even heard of the guy.
Exactly. I mean, who knows? But I mean, their farm system needs to be replenished. Certainly.
Oh, all right.
But you never know. It's still a long summer. It's hitting
Powder blue. Well, by the way, when does your show drop?
We kind of been adjusting to our schedule. We do it once a week, but the next one will drop Friday morning. So please subscribe.
Friday morning. Okay, cool.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds. Not the Phillies. People are going to tell us to stick to the Eagles. Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in the Eagles intel. Want to give a big thanks to Hunter Brody, our producer. Check him out on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. His Twitter account @Broads81 and @Broads Media. Also check out his new website, broadsmedia.com. It's a fantastic job. And of course, as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.